Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the morning show right here on Love FM and Love Television. It is 29 minutes to 7 o'clock, and we want to wish you a very pleasant Monday morning on the 6th day of July. We trust that you're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready for the week, what the week may bring as well. So let me say, firstly, good morning to all of yours throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful jewel of ours. Those of you streaming in the diaspora as well, we're certainly glad you could join us this morning. And we trust that this morning's discussion will be informative and engaging. We should be joined very shortly by our news director, Rene Trujillo, and we'll be talking about all things domestic and foreign as well that impacts our life or may be of interest to you. Of course, it's Monday, and when it's Monday, we do a recap of the Sunday lottery draw. The first prize yesterday was 4655, 4655, 55 being the single winning number. The second prize, 5163, 5163, and the third prize is 6857, 6857. Missing numbers, 0, 2, and 9. Of course, if you won, congratulations. If not, you could try again tonight when the Bolido comes up at 9:10 right here and on Love FM and Love Television. What we'll do, we'll take a quick break at 27 minutes to 7 o'clock, and we come right back and we start our discussions for this morning. Take a break, come right back. And we're back. It's now 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. So if you gotta be at work for 7, well then you better get moving. So because we don't want you to be late. We don't want you to be late. Of course, we were talking earlier with William. This is sports for persons. This weekend, everybody was in what you would say sports heaven. Certainly the World Cup has been on. The Wimbledon tennis tournament is on as well, and as well as in my case, we played on Friday night. I guess I haven't recovered, if you hear it in my voice, from Friday night. The Belikin Orange Walk Running Rebels played in Orange Walk, playing the Belize City Defenders in the National Elite Basketball League finals. And the Rebels was successful in a 60-55 win in Orange Walk. So the series is tied 1-1, and we are now moving back to Belize City at the Belize City Center this Friday night at 9 p.m. for Game 3 in a best-of-5 series. So we urge all basketball fans, all supporters of the Defenders, the Rebels, to come out. And all those who are connoisseurs of the sport to come out this Friday night for Game 3. Should be a dandy, as the two teams have matched up well, and it's a treat to the fans. The game on Friday night was extremely competitive. It was a comeback victory for the Rebels, of course, who needed to win to even the series. And so we urge you, as well, there were individual awards given to the Rebels players, because that's how they work with Commissioner Leroy Banner, presenting the various awards to the Rebels player. The Rebels player got the best defensive player of the year, most rebound, rookie of the year. Rookie of the year was Tevon Dawson. The best defensive player of the year was Kenneth Perkins Jr. The most most blocks were Kenneth Perkins Jr. as well. He was also all NEBL first team, and also the NEBL second team was Matthew Jigayong, as well as Will Stanford Jr. And as I mentioned earlier, the phenom Tevon Dawson, who is the Rookie of the Year, all from the Belikin Running Rebels, Orange Walk Running Rebels. Of course, the Defenders has some players who had individual awards as well. Those will be presented by the Commissioner this Friday night at their home court at the Belize City Center as well. So thought that was very considerate and conscientious of the league to be able to present these awards in front of the players' home fans when they got their awards and their trophies as well, to commemorate their awards. So certainly we want to congratulate all those who had individual awards, especially those from Orange Walk as well. It's been a great season. It's a season that has been extremely competitive, and the way how it was structured and organized, and with the assistance of the government, our sponsors, of course, but certainly want to thank the government for their support and organization. And I think it's going to just go from strength to strength, because it gives an opportunity for all young people to be able to dream and progress. In addition to that, we have to also congratulate the Ministry of Sports and the government as well for the Super Nationals that closed on Friday. Again, that's where the best of the best in terms of our young people at the primary and secondary school level took part in the organization. The idea behind it was to be able to showcase the best talents, and by showcasing it and identifying it, then you're able to support those individuals who have the talent, have the potential, and then you just need to assist them by putting in some of the work to be able to get to a higher level. So it's a good start to be able to recognize those level of talent. We continue to start. We have to start from the primary school level, of course, where we continue to develop the love and discipline for a particular sporting area or discipline, and then subsequently we continue to grow and nourish those talents as we move through the primary school level, at the higher level in primary school, 4, 5, and 6, and then subsequently on to high school. That's the area that we need to then hone. When you get out of that section, then it's a whole different ball game, but certainly within that realm. So again, congratulations as well. Of course, over the weekend, it was all World Cup. And you know, everybody who are connoisseur of the sport, of course, were able to see some magnificent games. Yesterday, Europe defeated Latin America. 2 European teams were able to win. It was Norway over Brazil, 2-1, and then it was 3-2 England over Mexico at Mexico City. Certainly a heartbreak game for the Mexicans, but you know, when you look at the game, it was extremely competitive, and for a fan like myself, that's all you can ask for, is for individuals to perform at their highest level. So I think for the most part, those persons who were sports enthusiasts got their money's worth, and on Saturday was France winning and Morocco winning as well. So the stage is set. Of course, games continued over this weekend. I think there was certainly one blemish that I feel affected the sport and will continue to affect it, and then it just showed the level of corruption that exists within football from time to time, with a red card being overturned for the United States. That should never have happened and should not have happened. That is wrong. It defeats the whole purpose. If you get a red card, you're suspended. Everybody knows that for the next game, and you don't overturn that. It was a dirty play, and therefore I cannot countenance that in any way, shape, or form. That was wrong, and it's a bad decision for the sport. Trump say never wrong. And he said what he wants, but it was wrong. The bottom line is that at the end of the day, I urge England to also protest their red card that they got yesterday, because it was a similar play that occurred yesterday where a red card was issued to a player, and who obviously will be suspended for the next game. So that everybody in football understands that it was a dirty play. It could have destroyed that player's career by rupturing his Achilles with that kind of play that he did. And so that was unnecessary. When I saw the play, from then I knew it should have been a red card when it occurred, because I saw the game in real time, and I knew it was supposed to have been a red card. It's a bad decision. It's a biased decision, and I think it should be called out for what it is. It blemishes the game. However, I want to say that the games yesterday did well to kind of take that bad taste out of your mouth, because the game itself was very, very well played, both games, and very enjoyable for fans and connoisseurs of the sport. So my segment is done in terms of sports. As I told you earlier, we're joined by the news director. I'm Rene Trujillo, and Rene, good morning.
Morning, Troy.
What's been going on outside of my sports rambling? What other interesting has been going on in your neck of the woods? Nothing? Oh, man. Nothing. I will say very quickly, the story carried with the issue of the Belize tax services and people committing or attempting to commit fraud, maybe over the phone and different things. We need to get over that situation. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. You know, so many people get scammed because when you listen to the story, you're kind of like, how could you fall for that? So we need to start to not be so gullible and greedy. If somebody writes you an email to send you all these information that you just been awarded $10 million or some exorbitant amount of money, some uncle died and all of that, you know you have no rich uncle, man. So why would you even share your information? You know it's a scam. Where have you been to not know that these things are out there? So as soon as you get exposed to it, you should be able to recognize it. So please, You know, we sit here, we hear all these stories over and over and over, and it just galls me, why would you fall for that? You know, so we keep telling you, give nobody information, especially sensitive information, over the phone. What is wrong with you? So please, every time somebody says, I'm calling from this, and do like exactly what they advise you. Hang up the phone. And then you could check with the official area after that, where you make the call to the tax office and you could do your own probing. But these things don't happen like that. You know, I don't know if you know these things, when people send you some emails, I get them all the time.
It's called phishing.
Yeah, phishing, exactly what it is. They're throwing a line, and then you are biting it, and then you're getting hooked, then you'll come and cry foul. So please ensure that you know who you're dealing with, and you have a good handle on what's going on, because it's a crime. If people scam you out of your money and you could identify them, you make the report to the police, and so that the process could be dealt with, because criminally, you know.
The problem with the tax service scam is that it's not coming from a local number.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, if you apply common sense, why would a foreign number be calling you regarding Belize tax services?
Exactly.
So it all boils down to logic and common sense.
Yeah, I'm just showing it out there, Renee, to kind of alert our people to please don't stop. Please don't stop being vigilant. You have to be vigilant. There are persons out there who is going to try to deprive you of your hard-earned money. Mm-hmm. You know, so you have to be sensible. You know, so don't get overzealous and start spending some big amount of money that they tell you that you're supposed to get. You know, because usually what they do with these scams is that they'll say you have a big refund coming, and you get excited, knowing that you haven't paid any tax in your whole life. And yet you will get a refund. Makes no sense. So please, urge you, be vigilant. Use your common sense. Don't get duped. What else been going on?
Nothing. I left the morning show to you today.
Oh, yeah? Oh, my. That's
terrible.
terrible.
I'm not in a fighting mood today.
Oh, my. And I was all set and ready. I had my gloves on and all of the good stuff. Look. your newscast highlighted the People's United Party National
I just tell you another fight today.
Convention.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's in the newscast.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the items that
I worked this weekend, so yeah, I did that.
That was highlighted.
So it was a 2 hours and 45-minute event, and of course Troy was front and center at the National Party Council.
I go pick up news, and I go in every convention all political parties have hereafter.
You go to UDP rally this weekend too? Front and center,
Yes,
red shirt.
No.
Alberto was the
I
red shirt.
I not put on no blue shirt neither.
So there was
oh, go ahead.
There was a convention this weekend, and I did look at it online. They passed 3 resolutions, and I think it's important for our audience to understand that when a political party that's in administration passes resolutions, it has nothing to do with government, but more has to do with their own internal party politics. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to separate the two. Even though this party is in government, they have their own internal stuff happening. And so at the party council meeting, which is one of the highest, if not the highest, right? The highest entity.
I think National Convention would be like the highest.
The ultimate, Yeah. So they passed 3 conventions, the first having to do with their support and solidarity with Venezuela, the second one having to do with the Salvador partial scope agreement that was signed a few days ago, and the third has to do with the expansion of inclusion of women and young persons running for politics. I guess relating to a succession plan of sorts, passing on the baton to younger people. and women in particular, right? So you had the three resolutions, and then you had this, I don't know what that was. Was that like a Q&A segment where members of the party were able to stand up and express their views or ask questions on certain things? I think one of the things that struck me was Miss Universe Belize standing up and asking for that increase in the $10,000 threshold. I thought that interesting because that was what Andrea Perez had said 2 weeks ago, that, you know, the government needs to consider raising the threshold. And the Prime Minister did respond to that. We had that in the news over the weekend as well. Aside from that, what I found very, very interesting is the Prime Minister's presentation, where he says, or I should say party leader presentation, where he spoke about the actions of this whole Mira debacle is contrary to good governance. He, for the very first time, called it out for what it was. It was acts against good governance. And I applaud the Prime Minister for doing that, because that is what we need. We want to hear you accept and concede to the fact that whatever happened in this Mira situation was against proper protocol. And to add to that, even the NTUCB, Troy, a few weeks ago, when this whole thing was beginning to unravel, I interviewed the president of the NTUCB, and she said, well, I don't see anything wrong for you to take care of family member. You know, this was when it was only the Jenny Mira situation that had been revealed. And so the union was still like, well, you know, at some point you're bound to hire or contract a family member. Belize is small. Practically everybody is related in some way, shape, or form, or have some sort of association. And so even up to that point, she was saying, you know, the union is not protesting that, we're not. But then as more screenshots began coming out and you realize that this was a big dynasty thing happening with the Mira family, the union has now taken a stand and said, absolutely not. We cannot accept this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know? And so I found the Prime Minister, and I applaud the Prime Minister for doing that. I am satisfied. Not fully. That has checked off something on my list. But second of all, I think, and this is a suggestion or recommendation that I'm making, that the same way the Prime Minister has basically dismantled the board at Recondev, I think a review of the contracts need to be done. Not a review, sorry, an immediate cancellation of those contracts that still exist within the circle of family members. You need to cancel it and either retender or give it to the second person in line. But that will then signal to the Belizean people that you're serious about taking action against the situation. I know that he said that there's an audit going on, and the audit will take us as far back as 2015. And he has warned John Saldiva, be careful, because you never know what we might find out. But then it brings back the question, Troy, even if you do an audit dated back to 2015 and you find out that John Saldiva did something similar, if not worse, what are you going to do?
Well, it depends what you
Because
find.
we always find, Troy, that, oh, we threaten and we threaten and we threaten, but no politician other than, what's his name? The one out west?
Pena?
No,
Oh, Montero? Rene Montero?
Montero has been charged for abuse of power.
But they don't get convicted yet.
But they don't
so-
get convicted
so
yet.
it's
That's
only
still a
charged.
live
Yeah,
matter.
Yeah.
But that's the closest we've seen. Remember when Said Musa as well was
was
taken
charged.
to court and he was charged as well. But I'm saying all of this to say, don't waste. We have more things to audit, more important things to audit. Don't waste our auditors' resources and time for political vendetta. If you're trying to come and reveal that John did this and John did that, that's the reason he was voted out.
Well,
So leave that, because look at where we are right now with the JPAC. The Joint Public Accounts Committee is looking at audits from 2015, 2016. That was 10 years ago.
but those audits
Some of those
are not,
finance officers
to
have
me,
already resigned, retired, dead.
those audits are superficial in the sense that they are not forensic. Most of the audits are just superficial,
Surface, exactly.
just making sure that the
The balance
documents
sheet
that line
balance.
up and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's a different type of audit that you would go into. Like in this case that I believe is happening over this 90 days that the Prime Minister had given, the 3 months, is more forensic to see whether or not all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted in the first instance, because it's looking for serious breaches and maybe even illegalities. So that's what the forensic do. It's not just to match up the numbers. So I'm hoping, for me, I am kind of reserving all my comments and major outbursts on the issue until the audit is completed, because of the whole issue of due process. I said from the beginning, the optics is bad, terrible, bad. You pointed out the whole issue of flying against the whole concept of good governance. That's clearly been a breach there, in the sense of the fact is that it makes you wonder. So anything that makes me concerned, get cynical or sarcastic in the whole process, then is an attack against the whole concept of good governance, because I'm supposed to feel confident that what is happening is done in the right way for the benefit of the people, meaning we get value for money. Now, I am not saying anybody did wrong, because that's the first thing that people jump up and say and attack and say, but no crime, nobody no do nothing illegal, not do nothing wrong. Okay, fine, granted, we give you 90 days. Then let's see what is going to be the opinion of the auditors at that point in time. Because if you're then indicted in those reports, then clearly it's going to be a different story. Good politics, like I said, this is a low-hanging fruit for the opposition. So what you do, you will have to deflect as a political party. You are as bad as me or so. That's how we try to balance the scale in politics. So when I hear the audit for going back to 2015, I don't get excited, because that's exactly what political party tries to do. The Barrow Bakarong Superbun for about 20 years. That was his go-to. Anytime he get in a trouble, Superbun. So that's what political party do. I don't get excited about that. I'm focused on the audit. The 90-day audit.
I long for the day when we could stop this talk about, oh, that's just politics. That's just what politicians do. I long for the day when we can move away from these old practices, because these are inherited practices.
As long as democracy exists to go ask for votes, that's what you do, because I am better than you. That's what you do. I am better than you. Donald Trump walk around with the Tiffy election just so that admit that he lose. Because it's bad politics for him, that he's a loser.
And I believe that. You want to know why? I used to subscribe to that, and then you started watching certain politicians and how they operate, right? Like, for example, and the first person that comes to mind would be Julius Espat. When you look at Julius and the way Julius performs, not only in Kaya South, but in his ministries as well, he is perhaps one of the ministers that you don't really see about media, the interviews and what have you, but you hear a lot about what MIDH is doing. You see a lot of it because they have a visible, they're very visible on several social media platforms. So you see the work, you see people are receiving houses are being built, roads are being constructed, all of this is happening. And every election, his motto is, I just not take the people for granted, I work. And he doesn't look to smear his opponent, or he not even probably...
He tend to have none, that's why.
Because why? Because he has established himself as a committed and a hardworking politician. If we do that, if we would do that, then I have the need for to try collect political ammunition. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not blaming this on the Prime Minister any at all. I understand what's happening here. The Prime Minister is trying to do damage control because 1, 2, 3 of his cabinet ministers screwed up. This is not a personal mess that the Prime Minister created. This is somebody that now he has to try and see how he salvages and and reestablish that credibility from the public, not of his own doing, but his ministers that got greedy, his ministers that took things for granted. You understand? And it's very unfair because he is another one who works in his division as well. And you know, I believe his intentions are genuine, but the good have to pay for the bad. And this is that case, no? But
Yeah, we're
you
gonna
have
break.
to take a break. We'll
Yeah,
come
2
back
minutes to
and
7, and we continue the
continue,
discussion
yeah.
and talk a little bit also about the protests that we're hearing about. 2 minutes after 7.
Introducing Grow What.
It's 6 minutes after 7 o'clock, And you're in tune to the morning show right here, Love FM and Love Television. It is the 6th day of July. And of course, this Saturday was the Independence Day for the United States. So again, belated happy Independence.
It was
to
also,
all,
Troy,
all
the 53rd
Americans.
anniversary of CARICOM.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There was. And I think Martinique has been accepted as the
7th associate
member as well. So,
but back to the NPC, Troy. So I commend the Prime Minister for finally coming out and saying clearly that what transpired with this whole Mira debacle is contrary, anti-good governance. Now let's move on with the audit. I am truly hoping that it is a forensic audit, as you have indicated. And I'm also hoping that the results of that audit will be made public. Because I could remember working in the newsroom, Troy, and they say, oh, we're going to conduct a thorough investigation and we're going to make the findings public. You know what I still await, Pan? I soon retire as news director at Love FM, and I started as a reporter, I must say, a good 15 years ago in a newsroom.
Which one did you wait, man?
At the wait pan the report. Remember when the children were born up that day?
Oh.
The hostile pa.
Yeah.
And they said that they would make the findings public. They're doing a thorough
Still
internal,
wait, man,
and I'm still waiting on that report.
Yeah.
I want to know how, why, and what caused these children to burn up in that fire. Yeah. And up to now, there has been no release of that report. And I could remember going to press conferences and asking
I think the
at the
minister
time
was
Judith
Boots Martinez at the
Alpuche.
time.
Well, he never nothing. He never got the intellectual wherewithal for deal with that. So the point person would have been CEO Judith Alpuche. And I could remember every time they had press conferences, I would ask the Prime Minister, I would ask Judith Alpuche about the report. And finally, they danced around it till finally they said they will not be making it public. And so I say all of that to say that I hope that whatever the results are from this audit, that it's not going to be filtered and that it's going to be revealed or released to the public. That is where, that is part of rebuilding your credibility as an administration, right? Now, after the Prime Minister said that, before the Prime Minister said that, Cordell Hyde came up and he gave a very, Cordell is very diplomatic, very suave, but he gets the message across nonetheless. And essentially what he was saying to his cabinet colleagues, you can't get too greedy. That was it. Did you listen to it? Did you intently to what he said? He said you essentially, and I'm translating what he said. You can't get too greedy. You can't take the people for granted. You can't forget how you get there. And let's, if we could just listen to it, William, if you could play part 1 of Cordell advice, please.
William got it?
We can't take things for granted because it's easy to get carried away, When PUP lose, and nobody no beat we, that we beat ourselves, that we get carried away, that we start kicking ourselves, that we start make mistakes, that we start get carried away and start quarreling to one another and want to fight it to one another and tear each other apart. We get caught up. We get carried away. And I understand you want to get carried away because I used to be a young man too. Miss Married, I used to be a young man. But we don't know a young party. We are the grandest, greatest, oldest party. We shouldn't be making youthful mistakes. We have to stay focused. They say keep the main thing, and the main thing that the people, the main thing that the work. Vast majority of the candidates need the party to be strong for win. So we're sure that we are win. Can't get carried away and kick see ourselves. We have to help one another. We have to take care of one another. We have to make sure that the party is strong. Because you know what happen, right? 8, 9, 10 away I win. And then on the other side, you got everybody else. That's not a good feeling. I know no one head there. Because maybe your ego like that idea, you think that only a few will win. You're one of the few will win. But that's not a good feeling. I could guarantee you that. Because I've been there, done that. 2008, how much I will win, Prime Minister? 6 I will win? 6 I will win. And all our people lose everything. All our people lose their job. They take one land where we give them. They can't get a house. They can't send their picnic to school. They can't get health care because they're a PUP. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we win. So that PUPs could be all right. But it's at the point. Make we not do nothing to make we party weak. And make we do everything to make we party strong. Make we put ourselves last and put the country first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're back.
that was essentially the message that he sent out, and I think it was very timely considering what's happening, and it's so easy, like you said, for you to start. It's so easy for you to start taking things for granted when you're
Yeah, yeah.
when you're in.
That's true. That's true. The important thing, when you look at it, I mean, it's a
good?
political rally for the
Okay.
People's United Party people, and so some of the way how they make the presentation is not going to be in the same official dumb way that they would normally do it. But the bottom line, like you said, the message is clear: is that if you do things that are not right by the people, you're going to get punished by the people. And I think that's the message that has been clearly said
But I think
over and over.
I think the silver lining in this, however, what I recognized when I listened to Cordell Saturday, the silver lining is that it's a wake up call. It's a reality check. Because 6 years, you're only 6 years in government, right? You need to take a step back and assess, right? And if you notice, Oscar Mira, for all intents and purposes, is a junior minister, you know. So he probably saw loopholes that he could have taken advantage of. But this is what kills your career. Quick, fast, and hurry, right? Look at Penner.
It was in the same kind of second
Right.
term.
He get greedy and he get inner problems and he create one scandal for the party. So he didn't have a long-term political career. That was a very short-lived political career. When you look at other people, like for example, when you look like at one Oscar Requena, at one Rodwell, one John Bersenio, Kevin Bernard, these are people who are in it. Not to say that they're probably not doing anything. I'm just saying that they understand the assignment. And the assignment is don't get greedy, don't take people for granted, and put your country first. Right? That's the assignment. And Oscar Mira dropped the ball. And now the whole cabinet have to try figure out how they want maneuver. And now the Prime Minister has Ministry of Defense in the interim. You create one mess, man. And the thing of it is that when you make moves like these and when you make decisions like these, they're not just you get impacted, they're your whole party, your whole cabinet,
Well, I think
the government.
that's what he depicted, that the party has to be strong to support. And this is why we oftentimes want a strong opposition as well, to be able to make sure that when you're in government, the opposition is so strong that it acts as a deterrent for you to even contemplate if it is that you're going to come off the tracks. And that is one of the areas that we always have to continue to shore up as well, because the government has to be able to be kept in check. Because if you don't keep governments in check, they themselves are going to be their own worst enemy. And because you have this sort of access to all this sort of infrastructure that you could manipulate
But
and
you know,
maneuver.
but you know what is to their disadvantage as well? So remember when PUP had like 6 people in the House, and UDP won for like ruled for like 13 years
13
it was.
years.
The forces over on the opposition were strong, unlike what we're seeing today, because you had John Briceño, you had Oscar Requena, you had Julius Espat. You had strong opponents, even though I'm only 6 of them, then I'm a strong opponents.
For less than 5 years, because it was 2008 to 2012 when he called the election, and then after that it became
Bigger.
17, 14.
But for those 5 years, you had strong people. So then could be one viable opposition.
In terms of their voice.
But look at what you have right now in opposition. You understand? You have, and I'm sorry to say it, but you have a not so strong leader. You have newcomers, Lee Mark and Godwin, right?
And Miguel Guerra.
And Miguel Guerra. And then who would be the
Hugo Pat
person?
was never.
Well, Hugo Pat was never really a vocal
dominant person. Yeah.
So this is what makes up our opposition. So the media and the unions and the other social entities have to fill in where the opposition is failing. Because if we say, all right, we can't throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, the opposition alone fooled this. No, you have to step up as well. You understand? Because it's your country at the end of the day. It's your children and your grandchildren that will inherit all of this. So you have to step up. I think it's unfortunate that this is what we're dealing with, a very weak opposition, which, by the way, they're planning a rally for Saturday, as you mentioned.
It's Saturday or Friday?
The 11th, when is the 11th? Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday?
Yeah, the
Okay,
11th.
okay.
And they have invited the National Trade Union Congress of Belize, which is the umbrella union for all unions. And they're saying, you know what, we don't have a problem joining because we too are upset. But don't think that we're going to join in your political message. This is not politics for us. And so I think because they were asking them to gather in front of the UDP headquarters, the union said no.
Well, I think
we are not
if
going
I
to
heard
do
your interview on Friday with the president,
Correct.
I think her position is that the jury was still out whether or not they would participate
Exactly.
because they did not have their Congress meeting as yet to kind of decide how they were going to move. But she did warn that this is not how we're going to structure ourselves. We do feel that it might be something to send a message for, but it wouldn't be a part of a political movement because we don't want to be tainted with that idea.
Let me be the devil's advocate here, right?
Because they may well, their Congress may well say we're not interested. That could still happen.
So then, essentially, what are you rallying for? An election is not until 2030?
No, 2027 is municipal next year. So it's close enough if you want to build some momentum, if you think so. As a political party, I think the Prime Minister has heeded, there's a couple of things that you could have done.
I think it's pointless.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Because the Prime Minister already acted, because there's very little you as an administrator can do. You do your audit to be able to get the facts that something, you smell something, so you want to make sure that there was fire. So you do your audit. Then your next step is you put the individual who you felt was culpable possibly or could be in the way, out of the way, so they're on leave of absence. Then there's going to be a change in the structure of how procurement is done, because that seemed to have been the Achilles heel. So we're going to create this central procurement process. We're going to do all this level of transparency to tighten up the system. Then fourthly, we're going to strengthen the Finance and Audit Reform Act, the FARA. So those are some of the things that is a trigger caused by what has happened to be able to have this happen, because here you as the Minister of Finance is going along thinking, well, you know, everything is being followed by protocol, and then lo and behold, in the same system, the public officers, and so they're deviating from what the policies are, creating this level of irregularity, because that's where I will put it in quotation at this point in time. making the optics bad.
But not only that, he's arranging for training of the FOs, refresher courses of the FOs and the accounting officers for them to be reminded of how the protocol works
Right.
and what the protocol is
Right.
for procurement. So for me, I'm saying the rally is a waste of time.
Well,
It
could be a make or break situation because it's a dangerous thing for the opposition. Because if they're planning a rally and they don't have the monies, because it is the monies that you will need to mobilize people, and it comes off very shaky, then they have messed up themselves going forward. Because then they become sort of like more a joke than anything else.
Exactly.
So you have to be very careful when you say you're going to do it, and because it requires you have to spend some money. So if you're getting money from some of your big donors, then maybe you have a chance to do that.
But I think what the opposition needs to do is ask itself, what is the point of this rally? What is it that you hope to achieve from this rally? So you called for the resignation of Oscar Mira. That's not going to happen.
No.
So you're wasting time. What is going to happen is that he was removed from cabinet. If you're going to call for him not to be reinstated, that's a different story.
But time will
he's
tell.
not going to resign. That's one. You can't do a recall mechanism because you don't have the sufficient parameters to conduct that.
They still have the window.
Well, you have the window, but so what is the point of your rally? You don't have a strong support system. Because look at how many people are.
And you're not strong in Belize City, so to have it in Belize City is not the right spot to do it because you won't be able to mobilize the bigger divisions.
And not only that, so you're going to put together this whole rally and what have you, when really and truly, like you said, it's a risk because if you don't have a good showing, it's like you're starting from scratch again. You're scaling back. You're sliding back then.
See?
Instead of your tri-bill, because right now what they're having is that Tracy still has a lot of opposition within the party itself.
But we had Shine Barrow here last week who kind of, as far as I'm
Tracy
concerned,
Watela Shine and a part of UDP.
whitewash the Mira situation and kind of brought to the forefront several issues that he felt that went wrong when Tracy Panton was a part of the Barrow administration as well, that went wrong under the Barrow administration. So that clearly, is going to be, and let me tell you, anybody that thinks that they want to take Shine lightly in terms of how he can disrupt the opposition,
I always said that,
is going to do so at their own peril.
People say people like say Shine pay me and you, but you have to call one spade. Don't take your eyes off Shine.
Yes.
I am saying that, and I will keep saying
as
that.
a disruptive, I don't mind what people say. People will say a lot of things. At the end of the day, we must stay focused on the message and the direction that what we want to do is to get our people to start to think about things in a much more holistic way, so that we don't
be more objective.
Extremely myopic
Exactly.
and cultish.
Exactly.
We need to broaden our views so that we could get more things done for ourselves.
So if they call the rally, I don't think it makes sense, because aside from that, you have the situation brewing up out west, right? The very municipality that they control, they're creating issues because now you have Bernadette Fernandez saying, you know what, if you don't endorse me, I'm not going to run. And I could understand why she would probably feel entitled. She's been carrying the UDP.
Yeah, she
and Trump have been carrying the UDP. I mean, that for me would be some sort of reward to leave her to have her seat, leave her to retain her seat, let her run again. Why do you want to put her in a convention? You understand? And so she said, well, I'm not going to run again. And I agree with the woman. I agree. You know what? I have stood by the party when you've had such a deep minority. You know, we bring in San Ignacio Town Council, you know, and she and Trump have been at the forefront of that. And now you're trying to dismantle and disrupt that entire wing that you have out west. So instead of trying to rally in Belize City where you
Omar
don't
Figueroa
have...
as well.
Right.
From that whole...
And then they had the Alberto August thing where they removed him from the Election and Boundaries Commission.
Yeah.
And then you had the even greater fallout when Alberto was arrested and Tracy did not even come to his
Shine was there.
defense. Shine was there. Shine Medical, who? The Prime Minister, the Minister of Police at the time, all of that. But Tracy issued one long release saying absolutely nothing and not once condemned the arrest of Alberto August. Even if you don't like him, in politics you have to understand, you touch one, touch all. You could be having your internal conflicts and go to war with each other in their meetings, but in the public arena, touch one, touch all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tracy did not apply that loyalty. Tracy did not apply that principle, which tells me, which begs the question, are you really and truly a leader? Are you really and truly a team player?
Well, when I look back at this whole process, is that money talks and everything else will walk. Shine has money, some, that he could throw around in terms of creating disruption. I see that as a strategy that he's doing. And so there's a level of loyalty. Even Hugo Pat, in my mind, is loyal to Shine Barrow, in my view. There was confusion with Miguel Guerra at the budget debate,
When he
where he
complimented the
someday more
government.
PUP than opposition. And because of what we've been used to hearing before in terms of how opposition operates and how the government side operates. So it's almost as though Miguel Guerra crossed the floor in his accolades for the help that he was getting from representative from the People's United Party, and that was would have been to the chagrin of the leader of the opposition at that point in time, that he didn't even acknowledge her. So there's a lot of things going on among themselves that they need to sort out, so that visibly, the PUP went through that during the Francis Fonseca, John Briceño situation as well. They had their own differences and factionism within the party. Eventually, cooler heads prevailed, and then they were able to present a united front. But you have to be able to present a united front. You have to find a way to hug up Shine Barrow. That is my advice. If I was advising the leader of the opposition, you have to find a way. I don't know what it is that is going to work, but you better reach out and find out what it is going to be the button that you need to push for Barrow to calm down, and then you could start to show a semblance. But as long as he's out there on a limb, he is going to be throwing from the outside in.
But not only that, a lot of people have expressed disappointment in Tracy. A lot of people that had supported her for leader and the ousting of Shine Barrow are disappointed at her performance. And not only that as well, Shine has his own following, you know. In this country, when it comes to political, in the political arena, he has his own following. So you can't count him out just yet.
Well,
so I agree with you.
He controls
that
at least two of the representatives,
Tracy
Miguel Guerra
needs to figure out-
and Hugo Pat, in my mind. You know, because Miguel Guerra was one of Shine candidate.
Right.
Because remember, they ran on a double slate UDP structure. So that's the look that exists right now within the 5 persons that are there. So for me, looking at the protest, like you point out, if it is that by Tuesday you don't feel that juice flowing, I would postpone it. That
But
would
not
be my
only
view.
that, you're having a protest when really and truly the reality of the situation is that we're moving on. You can feel it. We're moving on to another news cycle. Mira has dominated the news cycle for the last 5 weeks. We're moving on now. You can feel that moving on. I think there's a certain media house that will probably pound this to death for as much as possible, but that's his nature. Tabloids, entertainment, theatrics, that's what, he's there for. But really and truly, we're moving on to another news cycle.
Yeah.
And so you're having a rally at this juncture, makes sense. You should have had it in the thick of it. In the thick of things, it would have probably had a little bit more momentum than what you will get now. Because now we're done moving on
The
to
chamber,
other
the
things.
chamber have made
And the
some,
Prime Minister has already made moves, like you said, to try and
and the Chamber of Commerce has pointed those things out, and most of what they've pointed out to some extent is going to be what is being proposed to be implemented.
Exactly.
And so it would be a good gesture on the part of the government to be able to embrace some of the recommendation, because I feel that the private sector is not saying that the sky is falling, but make sure that we put up enough props to make sure the sky will not fall at any point in time.
And not
by
only that,
virtue
Joe,
of
remember,
having a government that has lost its way.
remember too that the Public Service Union president has called for the heads of the FOs who are responsible for turning a blind eye to these
Because they're
procurement.
culpable.
Exactly.
They don't turn a blind eye.
So,
They
but-
sign off. Their eyes were open in the sense that it's not something that passed them by that they didn't know.
Yeah.
They had to sign off. They are the one of the
colluded.
primary approvers.
Uh-huh.
And I'm being very frank and clear. And I think
So
Dean
I'm-
Flowers
I'm-
has been very clear, and I applaud him for that, because he does so at great risk.
So I'm saying to you, the Prime Minister has taken multiple steps. The Chamber has come out and said XYZ and has offered to assist the government in ensuring that this happens. The Public Service Union president has called for the heads of the public officers who colluded in this entire situation. Prime Minister has placed Florencia Marin and Oscar Mira on leave of absence for the next 90 days. Julius Espat is doing a wonderful job in Home Affairs. I mean, we're looking at things being put in place to fix and to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And so now the opposition will come out after all is said and done to try and rally. Make it make sense.
I think
it don't make sense.
I think it's risky for them, quite honestly. That's just my thing. I said, one of the things the UDP caretaker and the concert are saying is that they would prefer to use whatever money Tracy can find for them to register and transfer voters during this period, July and August.
That makes perfect
rather than
sense.
waste that money on a rally and demonstration.
That is perfect sense, because that's
That's where
building
your
your
strength
foundation.
is. Yeah, that's where your strength is.
Exactly.
This-
Put your money in at the transfer season, transfer your votes, then take care of your voters.
And get new voters.
And get new voters,
'Cause
because while a
people
lot
are-
of young people are going to turn
18.
come the next election. Some people are already 18, so the first time they have vote,
So
they're
you-
in a, you
And
know,
normally, if you're the one that takes them in to register, chances are you can
they
get
have
their
a
vote.
level of loyalty
Yeah,
to you.
yeah.
So
yeah.
focus on building your party, friend. Focus on building your votes.
26 to 8, when it's 26 to 8.
and then, you know,
Yeah, 26 to 8. We'll take a break and we'll come back and continue the discussions.
Good morning, Belize. A moderate, moist, and somewhat unstable airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for sunny skies today with cloudy intervals, and high temperatures today are expected to reach 88 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 94 inland, and 82 over the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be cloudy at times, with low temperatures of 82 along coastal areas to 74 inland and 68 in the higher elevation. Shower activity will be isolated. Then expect a few showers and possible isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly along coastal areas during the afternoon and evening hours. The wind will blow from the east to southeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea state will be choppy. A low tide will occur at 8:26 this morning, a high at 2:10 in the afternoon, a low at 2:42 p.m., and a high at 2:50 a.m. The sun rose at 5:23 this morning and will set at 31 minutes past 6. The moon set at 10:56 a.m. and rise at 11:08 tonight. The outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for cloudy skies at times, and shower activity will be isolated at first, then gradually increasing. In the sargassum forecast, there is a high chance that significant amounts of sargassum could impact northern and central areas of the country during the next few days, resulting in major impacts from those areas. And in the tropical weather outlook, no tropical cyclone formation is expected near or over Belize and her coastal waters during the next 48 hours. And with that, we conclude your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
It's now 19 minutes to 8 o'clock. You got to be at work at 8 and you're not out the gate. Chances are you might be late. It is the morning show right here on Love FM and Love Television. It's the 6th day of July. We're in the second half of the year, Renee. Imagine that already. Second half of 2026.
Troy, so for wrap up what I'm going to tell you earlier, this, I think what also would help Tracy a lot, just to wrap up the political discussion, is if she would actually come and sit down on the couch and explain her role in Bolido. Because you have a lot of information coming out, allegations, accusations about the role she played in the Bolido contract under the previous administration. And I have only heard her threaten to sue. I have only heard her saying, I don't hear her outrightly saying, I didn't have anything to do with that. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard that. And I haven't heard an
I think she had
explanation
said that she
as
was
the
not the
minister
substantive
of,
minister at the time.
yes, but
And that she never signed nothing at the Attorney General.
But if you knew what was happening, did you stand up against it? Did you express any opposition
They are not.
to it?
They are not.
Why? Because
Not
that's who the
under
Prime
that-
Minister
not
was?
under the Barrow administration.
So my thing
They are
is,
not.
what was your
This
your
is what happened to
position?
Marcel Cardona when he thought that he could stand up.
Yeah. So what was your position then? Come and talk to us. Let us understand. Because right now, all I'm hearing is that you were there when the Bolido contract issued, and Belize lost millions of dollars.
What I want to see
on
if
that.
she will process factual. I'm a stickler for facts. Don't defame me, don't scandal me, don't libel me if it is that you don't have the facts. So don't create hysteria to try to sully my name if it is that you don't have the facts. No, if you have the facts, if you're saying, I believe that you are part of the government when a corrupt act occur, we consider the Bolido situation to have been a corrupt act, that's a different discussion that we're having. So it's for her to see whether or not that reach a threshold. You saw what happened with the Mira Alberto Aga situation, where even some attorneys, including people like Dickie Bradley, has come out that they believe that the threshold may not have been breached to be able to get a conviction. So as it relates to either of the whether you want to call it a scandal, a defamation, a libel, whichever one of the three offense you want to pick, that normally happens in these circumstances using social media. So again, did his interview or his classification of her meet the threshold? That's up to her and her advice and legal advice that she's getting. So I want to see if she'll follow through. Otherwise, that continues to stick on her. That continues to stick.
But that's what I'm saying. She needs to come and sit down and clear the air on several of these things that are being talked about.
This is a very important point from a viewer. He says, Tracy Panton, biggest error is not having Michael Perfit as part of her team in these times. She's depending on the media, especially the one on Albert Street, to boost her morale. Her chairperson is no way her chairperson that she chooses is no way experienced as Mike P. She does not have the qualities to be the chairman and of a major political party. The leader of the opposition seemed to prefer Patrick Faber over Michael Perfit and Alberto, who are generally the part of this political system. In a herky-jerky way, I gather what is being said by a viewer, that there are some limitations in terms of her team that surrounds her in terms of experience, and so they're fumbling, and therefore if they can't get a proper message across, because this is something that if you depend on the media to save you, then you're in trouble, because the media will go wherever they think the flow is. And at some point in time, if they don't believe they're getting the traction from the noise they're making on your behalf, give or take, and I put that in quotation, they're going to shift. They're going to shift, and they're going to go on the other side, because the stories create flip-flopping. And as a government, you never stop doing things. You have to continue to be doing things to enhance the economy. And so there's a lot of projects that's going to be going on. A lot of people will be working. Jobs are going to be out there. We see that unemployment are under 2%. We hear the private sector crying for workers, especially unskilled workers. At this point in time, blaming BPOs, I said that's a cop-out. I don't blame nobody. That's a good problem. This is a good problem to have, where you shatter workers, or at least people who want to work are looking for work.
Actually, there's been a significant increase in applications for work permits for immigrants.
Yes.
Right,
Particularly unskilled.
Yeah,
You know,
and so
we're short in the cane, we're short in citrus, we're short in banana and construction.
But you know, Troy, it's not only there, you know. I have had conversations with people from the private sector who find it hard as well to find workers.
Especially in tourism. Because a lot of had migrated into BPOs because what it did is increase.
You know what Andrea
their
Perez
value.
said to me? Andrea Perez said, while tourism is booming, it's San Pedro is okay. So I went to San Pedro a few weeks ago.
Right.
And in front of the hospital, there was this recruitment desk where they were recruiting community outreach workers. And so I asked, I said, well, why do you need to be doing this? You know, is it that hard to find workers? And she said yes, and Andrea Perez reiterated that and said, San Pedro is having difficulty finding workers for two reasons. One, because, well, they don't have any BPOs on the island. So living on the island is expensive. Rent is expensive. Food is expensive. Everything is expensive. It used to be once upon a time you had people from Belize City and Corozal going to San Pedro to work. But if the BPO is paying me $2,000 a month and I can live in Belize City where I live, then best I come back home to Belize City than work in San Pedro for $2,000 a month and I have to pay rent. And the food is expensive, the rent is expensive, everything is expensive. So it would be more feasible for me to come to Belize City. So
Right.
they've lost a lot of workers in tourism because of that BPO. So really and truly, it's not an all across the board cop out. It's a real thing because people have to pay a high price to go and live in San Pedro. And that is why tourism in San Pedro is having a hard time finding workers. You understand?
Now, what I
As a
said,
matter of fact, people from San Pedro are coming to Belize City now to work.
what I'm saying, don't blame the BPOs because that's a good thing to have.
But you're not saying it's not a good thing. It's
but
just-
sometimes people use it as a way. I see many articles that make it look as though it's a negative thing. I've seen it
Oh, no.
over and
It's
over.
not a negative
and I'm
thing.
saying, but isn't that what we strive to accomplish from day one?
Yes.
Was to get as much people into the workforce as we possibly can to earn a living, because that's what we say. We keep saying that because there are less jobs available for persons, they're going through a hard time, and
You know,
that's
I
why
remember-
crime is on the rise. We go out through
I
all this
remember
meandering.
a few years ago, like literally, we were like 2 years into this PUP administration, and I remember sitting down at Charter House with the Prime Minister doing an interview, and I said to the Prime Minister, how does it feel to know that we don't have enough workers? Because we were already experiencing that problem from about 3-4 years ago. And it was a phenomenon because it's unheard of that you can't find workers.
And let's just quickly say
And he looked
remember,
at me and he
remember-
scratched his head and he said, you know, Renee, I think we came in and we started moving too fast for our own good. He never thought that progress would be, you know,
and
like
remember in 2020,
a curse kind of thing.
2020 COVID created a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. So a lot of persons didn't go back into the workforce because they developed their own little small business and continued to try to grow those during time. A substantial number of persons are doing their only thing. They leave trinkets, they leave body wash, they leave whatever, that are small businesses that are are flourishing to some extent, giving people an income that they don't feel that they want to go into a 8 to 5 structure or a top-down structure. They are running their own stuff. So combine that, BPOs and all these jobs. Check this out. You're going to have 2 bridges being built. You have the 2 major highways are going to be upgraded, both the Philip Goldson and the George Price. For the next 2 to 3 years, those works are going to be going on. So they are going to go through their problem. And when you couple that with all the constructions that are going on, you have this new project, the Public Administration Campus One Limited, that are going to be building 2 buildings on or around the size of the Eleanor Hall building. So you're going to have all of those structures combined with what's happening in terms of the hospitals being built. So where are those workers going to come from? That's the problem that the economy is now going to face. I am saying it's a good problem to have, but many persons are seeing it as a way that it drives up costs, because in order for you to attract all these workers, you have to pay them a little more. But you also mentioned also that there are going to be this huge requests for imported workers, for immigrants to come in.
There is not going to be.
So
There is currently a demand for work permits to bring in these workers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that is a current situation. But moving on, Troy, I wanted to talk to you about, you touched on it just now, the PPV. Is that the proper name?
SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle.
Special Purpose Vehicle.
Yeah, the tourism industry is about 6 to 8 months, which is the problem. A lot of hotel lay off people in the slow season. So people who get equal pay, will move away from the tourism industry. That's another point. Yeah,
But then that instability also lies in BPOs. Because remember, a lot of them work on campaigns, and if the campaign ends, or it's not necessarily a sure thing.
But some of the BPOs have long-standing campaigns, so they have a structure in place that keeps them working all year round. But in terms of tourism, you go through this high season and low season kind of thing, no?
So SPV, Troy, I understand that you are the general manager now for the special, what is it, special?
It's a company called Public Administration Campus One Limited. The concept
That's
behind
the name of it?
Yeah, the concept behind it is that it is really a rent-to-own structure in terms of its relation to government. As we all know that government rents throughout the country, across the board, especially maybe in Belize City, they have offices all over the place where they're renting these buildings. And we always accuse them of having this maybe they pay high rent, maybe there's some collusion. The same stuff like that is happening with the Mira situation. These accusations have been hurled around for many years, not only under the PUP but under the UDP as well. About 2 or so years ago, I remember interviewing the financial secretary and the then Minister of State, Chris Koyi, where they had come up with this concept of where they would create an entity, and you would say somewhere in the likeness of Bill, it is an entity that is going to be able to attract equity. 2 equity partners come together. Social Security put in a small amount of equity contribution to start up the operation, and government puts in the land. So those 2 entities become the owner of this company. And the company then goes out and finds persons to invest, buy bonds, to lend to this company to build 2 buildings. The buildings are then going to be rented to government. Government agrees to rent because I'm already renting, so I will move my business from them to this entity, and eventually this company will run these buildings, maintain them over a period of time, and then give it back to government after the debt is paid. off to the bondholders. So, two things happening. Government gets to get good facility. For argument's sake, one of the buildings are going to be for the judiciary, the appeals court and the high court. So they're going to be able to structure a building to suit them. So the courthouse is going to be much improved. And then you will be able to move those persons over from the old courthouse, which you know was not in the best of shape, get that refurbished, move your magistrate court there, and stop that what you're doing there in Coney Drive that seems to give a bad taste for persons going there. They're out in the sun and all of that. It's not structured the right way. So the intention behind it is a very novel structure, but very user-friendly, meaning that government is not going to incur any further cost because they're already renting. It's going to be two buildings. It's averaging around 60,000 square feet with about 50,000 square feet of rentable space per building. One is going to be for the judiciary and one is going to be for the general public service, kind of like model off the same Eleanor Hall building where the Treasury and the DFC and the tax office and all of them are located, where you could move many of your other offices that are scattered around, human development, lands, all of them throughout the city, and you kind of bring them under one roof. So when you kind of visit the public administration campus, like everybody is there. And I believe that, and this is just me thinking future, that government could use the same model, PPP structure, where you get the private sector to invest and build your bus terminal, build your fire station, all of those things in that vicinity. So you have this sort of central location where all government interest is being centralized and located, and cost government nothing more. In addition, what you get from it is that you already have the land, but you never had to go borrow no money from nobody else. You have no risk because it's the same cash flow that you're used to rent that will pay the debt. So the investors are going to come in. Some of the institutional investors that already have expressed interest, like members of the banking community, the insurance, even Social Security themselves would want to look at it as part of the investment because it's a yield between 4.5% and 5.5% that is designed to do, which is a very good return. So if you are investing right now, Social Security, for argument's sake, is probably getting about 2% the most at some of the lending institutions. If you have a gilt ending, and gilt ending mean that it doesn't matter, you will get paid of around 5%, man, you're in financial heaven in terms of what you're getting now, because remember, Social Security have to be able to earn enough interest on the monies that you get from the general public to be able to continue to pay for people pensions, sick benefits, and so. I heard people complain about Social Security when they go for their claim. That has nothing to do with this structure. They're governed by their own rules and regulation in terms of the regular operation. This is about providing a service to the government that the government badly needs, and it's a way for them to get the private sector to invest. There is a huge amount of liquidity that is within the banking system that is there right now available to be invested. So if you are somebody who has large chunks of investment in a bank earning, say, 1.75%, and somebody is offering 4.5 or 5%, man, this is an attractive venture, plus it's gilt-ended, meaning you are going to get paid. There's almost zero risk involved. So
who are the key players in this? So you will be the GM, and you're working on it from...
Yes, and so we're working on putting this whole structure together. Because, there's a whole legal structure that you have to put in place. Most of the groundwork has been done for the most part, getting the company registered, getting all the documentation, the indenture, the bond subscriptions, all of those things to be able to put out there, put an offering, a placement offering together / prospectus for these investors to invest in. And then you also then have to go through the procurement process of a design-build structure. They're going to design and then build. For one contractor, that's the model that they're choosing, and the construction occurs. I said it's likened to that
What do you mean
of
one
build.
contractor?
No, meaning that normally how sometimes you would get an architect to design the structure, then you take it to a contractor to build. The model is a design build, which is the same way that the Eleanor Hall building was structured, where the designer and the contractor were the same person, right? So the Bill got somebody, the Belize Infrastructure Limited, remember that entity?
Yes, with the Arguez family.
Yeah, so it's the same system, because what that does is doesn't create any sort of disruption, plus it speeds up the time for construction. Because oftentimes when the architect creates something, the contractor, and there's always a fight between the architect and the contractor. So and that creates delays, huge delays sometimes. So in order to create a much more smooth and much more quicker process, you combine the two, where you call it a design build. So the whole idea behind it is that the risk to government, the risk to social security, and the risk to the private sector are almost zero in terms of the structure itself, because you have the lease agreement with government to be able to rent your building. Government pays every month just as how it's paying right now, after it moves out from these other entities and areas that they're renting, and government eventually gets ownership of the building. It becomes a part of their balance sheet as well, something that they never had. And also you create this sort of one-stop area for government services, so people don't have to wonder, where our lands there, they move fire, they move there, where our magistrate court there. How much time vital statistics have moved, from private building. So basically you're creating this sort of building. Yes, right now they're at the Charles Bartlett building, which is a government building. So it is to create that sort of situation for those departments or ministries that doesn't have a resting place, especially in Belize City. So when you looked at the structure, from an economical standpoint and a financial structure, I think it's extremely novel and neat. And I think that
So
other entities should look at it.
you're on contract to establish the parameters of
Yes.
how this
Yes.
entity will function.
Will function and go through the process of the procurement as well, and to oversee that process with the intention to deliver the two buildings. But for me right now, it's just on a two-year basis.
So this would be like a pilot project of sorts, because then, like you
It's
said,
more than pilot. It is
no,
very.
I'm saying that it's like a template.
Oh, well, it's a good
It's
template.
a template
because that can be done for every district.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
it's a good
you're
point.
looking at these two structures, which can then be extended or expanded into the districts, and like you said, even for example the fire service and those different entities that can come together. So it's like a template of sorts that you're creating.
Yeah, and government doesn't. It's not a debt. It's not a call on the government consolidated fund, meaning that
I
government
understand what you're
doesn't
saying.
have a debt on its books.
You're going to get investments, and the very same money that they're paying right now for rent, they will be paying into this and eventually own the structure, and rent will be eliminated. I understand that completely. Now, one final question for me. How does this differ from Bill? Because I could remember around election time, Bill was a hot mess, and the PUP was completely against
Big
Bill.
difference. There's a big difference. The difference with Bill is that they were using government borrowed money.
Bill being Belize Infrastructure Limited, by the way.
It's a big difference, because they were using government liability to build these buildings. These were government money that was then moved from a consolidated fund, remember the Petrocarib monies, and put into Bill. So it was government money that was actually being used, which was a debt on the government books. this is not a liability for government. Government will have, if each building costs 20 million, government will not owe not a cent of that 20 million. Because the money is coming from the bondholders, meaning the banks, meaning private citizens, but generally right now it's looking at institutional investors, people that have chunks of investment.
But then what would be the security for that?
The security is the lease agreement with government, which says government is going to lease this building for the next 20 years and pay me at so much per square foot, plus the building itself.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so the asset, so government has no exposure in terms of a debt on its books. It is, for me, when I first heard it, and if anybody go back, historically, I was then called by the chairman of Social Security to say, well, they thanked me for explaining the fact that that was a clear, from way back then when it first started, when I interviewed the two gentlemen here, as I mentioned earlier, because I felt that's like, why we didn't think about that a long time ago.
So you've been appointed the GM.
Yes, I've been appointed.
Since May?
Yes, on a 2-year contract.
Okay.
So I'm putting together the company right now.
The reports from another media house that essentially says that that the government appointed you without consulting Social Security, which is a...
Oh. Let me tell you the structure. Social Security appointed to this SPV 3 members of a board, and government appointed 2. And these were the people who interviewed me.
Okay.
All right? These 5 people interviewed myself, and I don't know who else. And they offered me a contract for 2 years to put together the structure and get the whole project going. And that's the bottom line of it. Very extremely transparent in the sense that the Social Security Board itself, they are the ones that selected 3 persons to be on this, on the Public Administration Campus 1 Limited. Don't get confused with the name about special purpose vehicle and try to create hysteria over it. That's foolishness. Somebody asked me about that. That's nonsense. That happens all the time. You set up a company. That's all it is, a company just to do that work. When that work is done, then you wind up and dissolve the company.
So it's an SPV?
Yeah. So that's what I said. But they make it sound as though it is something sinister and bad.
Oh, no.
Understand finance so we don't get confused.
But I was just asking because the other media house mentioned that, you know, that your appointment was that not above board kind of thing and what have you.
I don't know why would they? None of these members could say that because they were right in the room.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I don't think that I mean, if you want to create tabloid hysteria like the Inquirer and the Star, well, you will create all sorts of hysteria.
Well,
anybody who knows me, anybody who knows myself, I do everything above board, across the board, above board, because I always, when I sit here, I stand on my own merit and character, because when I was approached, I wasn't doing anything, and I said, fine, and I won't stop my morning show, by the way. I will continue, because this is where I come for my therapy.
Yes, because if Troy stop, I stop.
No.
So that will happen.
No. I will continue to have the discussion. That particular structure and entity is very controlled. It has enough checks and balance in there. In fact, there's nothing to do anything with. It's a straightforward, cut and dry arrangement in the way how these things are structured. So it's just to kind of guide the process, start the process and guide the process. And I think we're on the right track. I think it's a very good idea, and I agree with you, Rene, that it's a good template to have for other areas, other districts, and so that have representation of government departments in the various districts, that this is something that can then bleed into those particular areas as well. So I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity to work on something this novel, and I think it's going to be something beneficial for the Belizean people. It is 11 minutes after 8 o'clock, Renee. We got to take a break and come right back.
Over the past 5 years, Digi has invested more than $17 million to revolutionize Belize's digital future. Our advanced
16 minutes after 8 o'clock, and if you had to be at work at 8 and you're not there yet, I dare tell you that you are late. When it's the 6th day of July, it is a Monday.
You know, Troy, I always late. I don't know what it is. I think that like a curse. Like I
You
could get up
procrastinate.
2 hours early and I
Call
you
procrastination.
just know that I want to be late. William, don't lecture me already.
we say-
'cause- so William and I are traveling to Miami on Wednesday, right?
You like dilly-dally.
Yes, I like
As we would say
dilly-dally.
locally.
So William and I are going to Miami
What?
on
A big junket
Wednesday.
and I don't invite me. So you want to stay?
Well, you know, like travel.
All right,
And,
I will,
you know.
I will concede.
You have said that time and time
Yes,
again.
yes, I like stay on the ground.
So we're going to this big event that's happening in Miami, in Miramar actually, in Miramar,
Nice.
Florida, starting Thursday. So I think I had it in the news today.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So what's happening is that you're going to have the immigration clinic where Belizeans from the diaspora can come apply for their passports, their nationality certificate, whatever it is that they're getting. But you're also going to have Lands Department.
Oh,
You're also going to have Vital Stats.
Wow.
And you're going to have your tourism desk.
Wow.
Right? And we're also going to have a meet and greet with the Ambassador Nestor Mendez. So there's a special segment there for the meet and greet. And there's also going to be a Belize Day. Now, you know, Miramar and Belize City Council, they have sister city relationship. And so there's going to be a celebration of that sister city relationship. Chico Ramos and, you know, other artists are going to be there throughout the entire day on Saturday. And then you have the processes happening within the Town Plaza with these different government entities, right? And so that's essentially what William and I are going to be doing. We're going to be bringing live reports from these events and talking to some Belizeans over there in the diaspora and essentially bringing coverage of it. And of course, we have had a lot of support and cooperation from the Ministry of Immigration, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you know, the Belize City Council, Vital Stats, all these people, you know, they're on board. And so we're doing this coverage. The last time the Prime Minister was with Karim Musa in Houston, we were fortunate enough to have Felix Mai in Houston. And so he attended that event
Okay.
and was able to do interviews with the Prime Minister and Karim over
Nice.
there. So this week it's in
I
Miramar.
had the opportunity in 2024 to be present when they did one in Los Angeles, and was massive. Like over
Because
2,000
that-
plus people
because that
attended
one
in
as
the
well
diaspora.
was the multi-agency
Yeah.
thing.
So I
the
think this one is
Lancet.
going to be as massive.
This is going to be
because there's a
massive.
huge
The
diaspora.
last one in Houston was only immigration,
Yeah,
I think.
and people come from nearby, all over. So if somebody is say, in Georgia, they would take the trip because it's closer to get to Florida, and which is next door state, and other. So the same thing happened. Some persons came who were in Nevada and various other close state, Phoenix and so on, that they were able to travel to Los Angeles, California, to be able to get the services that they would need, sometimes renewing their passport, maybe to apply for a piece of land, to get sorted their vital stats situation. You know, they wanted to do deed poll, whatever it is, change their marriage. They had married since and want to change their passport to their married name. So
Right.
for whatever reason, but people like the lands department, I knew work until 2-3 in the morning. People stayed there at the place they were having it. I think it was at the Marriott, one of the conference room at the Marriott by the airport in Los Angeles. But a huge venue, but it was crowded. And in addition to that, what you had is many persons in the diaspora and even local ones who traveled also and set up booths, you know, maybe promoting their wines, promoting other things, because you're getting this large cross-section of people in the diaspora coming.
But you know, aside from all of that, what it is essentially is also a reunion. Because some people might have absolutely no business to do with immigration, lands, or vital stats, but it's an event where Belizeans can go
Oh,
and meet
yeah.
other Belizeans, you know, that sort of
For
thing.
me, it was an eye-opener because persons I never saw in many, many years didn't know where they were, and they popped up,
Yeah.
you know. And so I got to chat with, hundreds of people, and it was a great experience, and I think you all will have a good amount of interaction
Yeah,
with our people in the diaspora. So
and
I
I'm
think
looking
that's-
forward to that more
yeah.
than anything else.
I'm glad for the reach out because many times persons are over in the United States and other areas that they want the service, but sometimes there's a level of inconvenience, and this is now bringing that convenience to them. All they have to do is show up. Yes, you have to make the effort, especially those that are not maybe in the vicinity. Would have to show up, but I know persons traveled from farm like I told you in Los Angeles, and they were able to get the service they needed, and it created a sort of bonding with those in the diaspora. They felt like a sense of reconnecting. The Prime Minister was there as well. He was able to interact with many, many persons. It was like a forum as well.
Yeah.
They had structured, was organized then by, I can't remember the group.
Right,
that
I
included
remember
Ray
the
Gomera
forum.
and a couple of them.
Yes, correct.
as
This
well.
one is with Michael Young.
I think it's the
from
same
the-
spin-off crowd that
Okay, probably then.
transferred himself over to LA with other little faction or caption, because all of them were there too. Michael Young, Jr.,
Okay.
all of them were there
All right.
in Los Angeles. So I figure it's the kind of same sort of working within the diaspora, and I think it's a great thing because we have this huge amount of persons who are connected to Belize. I always say, if you're an adult and you left Belize, you're always going to be nostalgic about coming back home. Maybe if you went as a child or
You don't
or
have that
son,
much,
you don't have that.
yeah.
But once you were already an adult and you migrated to say the United States, your dream is always to be able to return back home, in a much more economically sound way. And so every time you talk to people within the diaspora is about their plans at some point in time to be able to migrate back to Belize, their home.
And then, talking about America, I attended the U.S. Embassy 4th of July celebration at the brewery.
Aha.
That was, I think, on
As
Wednesday, Thursday,
Wednesday.
on Wednesday. Very, very
It
nice.
was at the brewery.
Right, at the brewery. Very nice event. I want to say good morning to CEO Oscar Arnall. We had a very interesting conversation along with his wife. It was a very interesting night. I saw Shine. Shine was there rubbing shoulders, shaking hands, hugging up, socializing, that sort of thing. I did not see the leader of the
I
opposition.
dare say Shine was in LA when I was there too. He turned up too.
Oh, really?
Yes, he turned up. At that time, he was leader of the opposition in 2024, because the election was 2025, so that's when he was removed. But that 2024, so he was there too. He was making himself.
Making himself known, making his mark, you know.
Yeah.
So like I said, I did see Shine. He was circling. I don't recall seeing anybody else from the UDP, to be honest. It was quite a huge gathering, so maybe I missed it. Maybe
Yeah,
Tracy
it
was
could be.
somewhere sitting down, or
Could
I
be,
don't
could
know.
be.
But I don't recall seeing her. But it was an interesting event, and it was also somewhat of a farewell for the Chargé d'Affaires, Catherine Beamer, and as well.
Because the new ambassador should be coming shortly, right?
No, he hasn't even had the congressional approval.
Oh, he hasn't got approval yet?
Not
Oh,
as
my.
yet. And Andrew Bauer, he hasn't gotten that as yet.
So they'll bring another chargé, I assume. 'cause
I believe
that's the
so,
plan.
yes.
That's the way how they're structured.
Yes, I believe
Chargés tend to be federal officers, persons within the State Department, while ambassadors are kind of appointed persons who are not necessarily federal workers.
So we look forward to see that happen. But yeah, the U.S. Embassy event was a nice event.
Yeah, and certainly it's 250 years of the since the independence of the United States. So certainly marked a great milestone in their history. And, you know, they are a superpower and a significant one, especially within this region, and an ally of Belize.
So, Troy, before we open the lines, I want to also say I came across a post from Filippo Alario.
You mean from Belize Bank?
From Belize Bank.
Yes,
Where he indicated that all banks are now on stream when it comes to this whole credit bureau system. And it was quite a milestone and accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I guess it takes us closer to where the central bank governor had indicated where we're going to move into that whole credit system, that credit rating.
Bureau, credit rating. We had the central bank people here maybe a couple of weeks ago, where they were discussing the launch of it. That there were two things that they were discussing. That's that, and then the automatic payment system.
The APS, yeah. Well, we did a story on that. That should be when that comes on board. You see, like for example, there are times when I would make a transfer from Heritage Bank to Belize Bank or vice versa, and you need your money weekend, but it doesn't go through until
it's
Monday.
A long time.
You know,
yeah.
And so this one would be immediate. And so essentially what he said is that all domestic banks in Belize are now onboarded to the CRIF Credit Bureau. He says it's a genuine step and transformative step toward a more transparent and inclusive credit system. He is the president of the Belize Bankers Association, and so he sent out a thank you to Atlantic, Heritage, NBB, and Central Bank for their partnership. And so what this will basically do is allow these banks to interconnect in terms of sharing data, credit information. So you have people who like to jump from banks to banks to banks, and they leave a bad. You won't be able to do that anymore, because they will be able to see, once the system gets on stream, they'll be able to see whether you owe Belize Bank, whether you owe whichever other bank.
Yeah.
And so that essentially will start affecting your credit rating.
Yeah.
And right now you see Credit Master Systems, they're putting out a lot of releases on wanted persons, right? I don't know if you've come across it, but Credit Master System, and it's no longer named. They're putting out your ID, your face, and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? And so this credit bureau system here that all banks have signed on to is going to be a very, like you said, transformative move in the way banking and loans and lending occurs.
On the upside, for good borrowers, those persons who had to jump through hoops even though they were good credits, that would impact them positively instantly. Because if you have a high and a good credit rating, that also impact your interest rate. Because if your credit rating is not too good, I might still want to lend you, but I lend you at an exorbitant rate because I'm protecting my risk. But there are other persons who might have a good score, so it pays to pay your credit card on time, don't be delinquent, because all these things are going to come against you. You know, and eventually what will happen, even some of the money lenders will join in as well, because the network will probably grow because it will help everybody. Because persons will be jumping from banks to money lenders like the Loan Shark or Pawn Shop, and so you want to know that this person is a bad debt.
I think it's important,
or
especially
a good person to lend to.
I think it's important, especially for young people who are just starting out. You don't want to already be establishing credit here, credit there, and then not doing.
Maybe courts will join in and other,
exactly.
because they're a lending institution too. You know, they are a financial institution. They have their ready finance component, but they also lend you in furniture, because they charge you an interest rate as well in terms of the timetable that it takes for you to pay for that item. So
yeah, so we had that in the news over the weekend
progressive,
as well.
very progressive in terms of bringing us into this 21st century financial structure. The next step for me, I want, is for us to start developing secondary markets where we could start to do some level of trading or so, open a window for trading.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
right now we're doing it, but it's very ad hoc. It's very institutionalized, one-off, the BLs, the BWS. This new special purpose vehicle we talk about, the Public Administration Campus One Limited, that is one structure where persons can invest, but it's only kind of geared for institutional investment. But you want people to buy stocks and bonds, people can put their own little IPOs out there, and if people
Like what
want to
Fortis
invest,
did.
yeah.
The hydro
The hydro,
project, sorry,
these hydro,
not
but
Fortis,
those are,
hydro
like I
project.
said, they're one-off. What we want is an actual window
Yeah.
where people could go and select, I want to invest here, I want to invest in this, and they could make their choices based on companies that are, and where you could sell your shares in entities. Right now, if I want to buy BTL shares, I better go find a shareholder and negotiate with him one-on-one in order for me to get those shares, because there's not a window where those shares are available for sale.
Yeah.
All of these are modernization of our financial system that has to come over time. But we're growing.
So moving on to other things, Alberta August goes back to court this morning.
But to get the charges removed, right?
It's to get the charges
Drop.
removed, and then from there, his attorney Michael Perfeet will decide whether they will
Sue?
sue,
Well-
whether they will start a lawsuit, which is what essentially, in the last interview we did with Mike, that was what he was saying, that they're definitely going to sue on this because it was extreme, and you can't run away from it. It was extreme. It was Oscar Mira trying to flex as the police minister, and it completely backfired on him significantly. I don't think he even could have fathomed or imagined
Yeah,
that this is what that would have this is what that would have resulted in. And so so he goes back to court this morning to have the charges officially withdrawn. Because last week when we got the letter from the DPP, I spoke to Mike and I asked Mike, well, are you going to comment on this? And he said not until we have it officially done.
Yeah.
Then he's going
So
to
that's-
talk.
that
on-
happens today.
That happens this morning,
And
yes,
very,
9
very
o'clock.
quickly, Renee, before we go to the break, what is lost in all of this is the loss of life of Dr. Bonilla and all that surrounded that conspiracy.
Was overshadowed.
And got overshadowed. The whole El Mana situation, all of that kind of got very subdued as a result of this tabloidish kind of way how this matter was treated, screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. It's kind of very nauseating.
But talking about screenshot, that Troy, so I'm told that the finance officer has been placed on leave. Now you sit on the Public Service Commission, and your commission really and truly is a deterrent to justice.
Why would you say that? Take the break, I'll come back and we can deal with you. 26 minutes to 9 and we come right back. It's now 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. And as we said, time flies, especially when you're having fun. It's 6th day of July. It is a Monday. Very
Yeah,
quickly.
open your phone line.
Yeah, no, I know, no problem. Very quickly, the Public Service Commission is set up as an entity, and just before the break, you had raised the point that,
And there is no
that
point.
if there is an infraction that occurs within the public service,
Uh-huh.
the public service regulation, there is a public service regulation. It's a huge dossier that governs the public service, and they are the ones that each public officer should familiarize themselves with the public service regulation, especially accounting officers, especially the administrative officer who is like the HR of the various ministries or departments.
So maybe I shouldn't blame the Public Service Commission. Maybe I should blame administration in the sense that, so there's one particular finance officer that's currently on leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
This finance officer was the finance officer in the Ministry of Defense for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some questionable activities under his tenure there.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was moved to another ministry with questionable transactions and activities there. Then he was moved to another ministry, and now he's been placed on leave by that ministry. Because of, from what I understand, he forged his superior signatures to process certain payments. And so for me, it's like, if he were working in the private sector, that would have been immediate termination. We're not wasting no more time. But in this case, you call it due process, I call it waste of time. Because now he has to go and then can't fire right away. Then you have to go front down Public Service Commission.
You have to build your
and
case.
then you have to build your case, and then you.
Well-
but if it were in the private sector, try if I mean your company
Well,
and somebody the thief for your company or whatever, and it is clear and the evidence is there.
Well, you make
Would
the
you
point.
not fire
So you make the
immediately?
point. It is clear. The public service president will tell you. The public service union president will tell you, because he also act in a defense mechanism sometime as well for public officers, and they would ask for leniency. They would ask all of those things. The bottom line is there's a public service regulation that is decided on jointly by the government and the union. They come together and they work out those regulations that governs the public service. So there are certain rules that's supposed to happen. So if you have evidence as a ministry that you have a major misconduct occurring, you put the evidence together by following the public service regulation, because there's due process. If it is that somebody is terminated or fired from the public service erroneously, they have an appeal mechanism too. If the Public Service Commission agrees with the ministry and terminates them, they appeal to the Advisory Council. The Advisory Council is also a appellant body that supersedes the commission. Then there's also the courts of this country if somebody believes that they agreed. When persons come to commission, especially for major misconduct or aggrievement, they bring their attorneys, They come layered up, many of them. Many of the attorneys that you see around here represent many of these public officers and try to get them exonerated as a result. That's a process that's built into the system that is there and it's regulated under the public service regulation. So the commission acts in accordance with the regulations. Oh, we have a call.
Love, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Listen, boss, Mr. Ivan Jones, I call again to find out. I call again to find out if we get any spotlight on this Garifuna journey thing, and the lady who actually do this. the U.S. Embassy, you know, they call and find out nothing. I find out when people commit crime, that people pick up people for here and carry them back to America. And the same way when people from America commit crime, we want to know if we won't get back anything. Look what they do to the people that sent today. What do you go out with me and this guy for that journey thing? This is over 20 or 30 years. I need to know what happened with the people.
Last call. Yeah, that gentleman had called me last week, and the best we said we could do was I had asked Chief to maybe do a Belize watch with him to kind of hear his story in real time. He says somebody may have plagiarized or taken his work by under some pretense and is benefiting from it. I don't know. That's what he's saying. He did some video or something, and somebody's using that video to gain traction or raise funds by it, and so. But that's more accusations from that standpoint. But I said the best, if we have somebody who appears to have that level of talent, it would be good to get them on the record in terms of what it is they produce and how it is that they contribute towards the overall the recording of the Garifuna ancestry and maybe any other indigenous group that he may want to participate with. No, so Chief, Abba has that. But that was me just offering a service to.
But won't that require some sort of legal?
Oh, he can take legal position. The first advice he got was that. But I said to him, in addition to that, you seem to be very knowledgeable about things that Belize Watch normally covers.
Okay.
So maybe we could get you to have that discussion on air, you know.
Love, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I just have a few questions that I would like to ask you all in regards to this whole issue that has to do with the procurement and of things for the BDF and whatnot, and well, everybody, no.
Mm-hmm.
What I am trying to understand if what has been happening in the past, what is the established system for doing what is being done? Because you would want to understand that from the very outset, if something was going wrong, that something should have been said from the first, I would say the first $1,000 went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we wait until so long to be creating a story, as it were. So one wonders, as a citizen out here, if this is not just something to distract the people from other things, or to deceive the people into doing things based on emotions and not based on facts. So I really would want to hear what has been the trend all along, because I would want to believe that somebody has always been selling and somebody has always been buying. So why is it that nothing was brought from the very outset if this was something new that was going so wrong? That's just a couple of my questions that I would have.
Thank you.
As a citizen out here.
Thank you, caller. All right. The Financial and Audit Reform Act sets out how the government should go about doing procurement and how it does its spend. Built into the system, they have a threshold, and I think I explained it a couple days ago, I think last week and the week before as well, that built into the system is there is a structure in place where the accounting officer is the chief executive officer of the ministry. And then under that, you have your financial officer, who's basically like your financial controller, the equivalent for that particular ministry. That's the person that is supposed to manage the budget. Now, when you have the budget that is approved by government for the particular ministry, in there has all the line items for the various spending items that you're going to going to be spending on. I'm going to be buying so much $1 million worth of vegetable for the BDS, so much meats and boots and uniforms. All of that is laid out within the budget. The finance officer responsibility, in conjunction with the CEO, they go about executing those particular purchases. There is a procurement process. If it is that you have certain spend that is going to be over $10,000, then you require several levels of approval. And
unless you could split invoices.
yeah, and so it allows you to be able to make purchases that are less than, and pay for purchases less than 10,000. I had given the example. Let's say you had your AC broke down and you want to go and buy 2 fans or 3 fans for the office in the interim while you wait for the air conditioner to be repaired. You can then purchase those funds by virtue of getting your purchase order, getting an invoice that is under 10,000, and you can pay that immediately because you need to get that product now. You can't wait for an extended period of time. So the system allows for these sort of small adjustment up to $10,000. And then if you go beyond that, then now you have to be able to get the level of approval. The finance officer a clerk would prepare the invoices and send it to the finance officer, and that finance officer sign off, and that is how the payments are made. So the finance officer would be able to see that a multiple of $10,000 or under $10,000 payment coming through, that's supposed to create some sort of red flag if it is that there is not a level of collusion, you understand? And so that's when what the financial secretary says, that, it doesn't look good. There obviously has to be persons working in tandem to be able to have this occurred. Because then if you end up with a payment that is greater than 10,000, then that has to go through the Ministry of Finance, maybe even to the Treasury Department. So more eyes are going to be looking and approving as you go along.
And I think contracts 50,000 more have to go to the contractor
right,
general.
You have to go through a whole tendering process, vetting, selection, approval from the contractor general, and all of that. So it's an extended process, and payments are then made. Schedule of payments are built into that contract that the finance officer will have to follow. So to answer the caller's question is that under the Finance and Audit Reform Act and how the public service has been structured in terms of its payment, there is a system. But the system, as far as that $10,000, was used in a very irregular manner, very abnormal. I will not say illegal yet, because illegality only comes up in the event that we don't get value for money. Because that's where I'm waiting on the audit. Otherwise, people will jump on me and say, but how you, because you have people who, while you have opposition to what's happening, you have people who basically are saying, wait for the audit and so. So I'm going to take that pragmatic approach and says, for this point in time, when I saw it, it doesn't look good. The optics is bad. So that much I will say about that. But the fundamental issue here is some persons, as Rene pointed out earlier, are asking for the threshold to be increased. I am not one of those persons. Right now, I am not one of those persons. I am saying, let's put this horse back into the corral and put in place this reform that we are talking about, adjust the Finance and Audit Reform Act, adjust the procurement process. If you want to go a central procurement, make sure you not slow down the public service with bureaucracy. Well, terminate if the evidence is there that wrongdoing occurred. Terminate right away. Recommend termination, and that process will go through. In addition, you have to be. The Prime Minister talk about this public disclosure of all these tendering requests that will be there, and who gets it and all of that. So this level of transparency that they are talking about would be, but build it into the Finance and Audit Reform Act so that it becomes legal, that it becomes a requirement that you're bound by law to follow.
You know, Troy, it's 5 minutes to 9. I'd love to continue this conversation, but I have an appeal to make. So, there's this woman in, I believe she resides in River Valley, and her daughter, she's blind, and her husband died recently, and so she's
We'll take this
asking
last
for
call, or
help
you-
in paying her daughter's tuition to continue school.
It's the last call.
Hello, Love
Very
FM.
quickly, caller, you have a minute or so.
Good morning. I'll take so long then. I just wanted to tell you guys to give your guys input about the speech that Miss Universe did in Dangriga. I don't know who she really represents, because as a Miss Universe, I think she could have, have a proper speech than that, because then she's not just representing one side of the country, she represented the whole country. I also want to know what the phone input about that, because as I get to youth, and I say that, as a good look from my perspective.
Okay.
Can you just, share what your perspective, guys, please?
Noted, caller. Well, the
Her
young lady,
contract with Miss Universe is done.
I would think so. I'm not sure. Wait.
I'm telling you.
Oh, it's done. Okay.
Her contract as Miss Universe is done. It's over with,
Okay.
right? And I don't think that she stood in that.
But isn't she still
did not
misbelieves
stand-
until
yes,
she
but
comes
did
somebody?
not. She did not stand
She was a
in that
delegate.
auditorium as
Misbelieves.
Miss Belize.
Yeah.
She stood there as a PUP delegate, which is within her right, whichever political party she chooses to
But
follow.
it does.
But I think what people are concerned about is that because she's so popular as Miss Universe Belize, Miss Belize Universe, however that goes, everything that she does, it's like representing her position on that. So I could understand where that kind of murky the waters. But in terms of what she was asking, exactly what you said, and we had it in the news where she was asking for the threshold to be increased from 10,000, which is exactly what you were talking about. just
Yeah, I
now.
was saying.
But
yeah,
in terms of
that
what
was
the
her,
caller
that
is
was her
asking,
recommendation. I didn't get a lot of. I didn't see anything ultra negative in how she presented it.
but I'll tell you
But-
this: it's trending on social media, though.
What she said.
The fact that it came from her.
Oh yes.
That's trending on social media. Not necessarily what she said, but the fact that she, Miss Universe Belize, said it.
Well, she is still Miss Belize, I would say, and as far as the statement that she made, it's an opinion that she has. Just like how I have an opinion that I don't necessarily support her opinion. I don't want it to be expanded, because then you end up with 19,000. If you put it to 20,000, 19,999. So you're just moving. You're just transferring the problem or kicking it, just making it in bigger chunks. For me, right now, it's do the reform. The Prime Minister is on the right track, in my mind. He's on the right track. All right-thinking people supports that position that I have spoken to, is that do the reform. Because that's how every law that gets created is because you are closing a loophole or doing something to address a problem that you have. So we recognize there's a problem. The caller asked that if it was happening before. Of course it was happening before. I am really sure that it was happening before, from time immemorial, that we've been doing it. Maybe not to this level of irregularity, the amount that we are seeing, but I am sure it has been happening before, because this is not a novel idea. The system allowed for it. So it's been happening. Now, if you want to know how frequent it was happening, well, then that's what the audit is going to prove. But if you go all the way back to 2015, as the Prime Minister had vowed to do, we'll see whether or not under the John Saldivar, Dean Barrow structured, how much of it they were doing. I'm sure they were doing it. So the bottom line is that, to answer the caller's question, it's been going on, as far as I'm concerned, for a very long time.
And also the bottom line is that you're not going to get back that money. All right? The Belize people will not see back that money. all the millions that were issued in contracts to the Mira family, you're not going to see a penny of that back. So if that is one of the things that you're hoping for,
But,
it's
but
not going to happen.
why
Hold
would you
on.
get anything back when I gave you my product?
Hold on.
That's the structure. You bought something from me.
You're not
you know-
good listener, true.
No, you say not get back the money like
But
some,
make a
as though
finish. Why?
somebody.
If
Oh.
how will you understand the
Well,
gist of
why
what
would-
I'm saying?
Why
if
would
you're
you
not
say not
listening?
get back the money?
You're
Because you
saying-
get the impression that
If you
somebody
want to
thief
know
it.
why I said that, you want
Alright, now listen to your career, I
listen.
forgot
Because you're not like listen.
I did listen to
And I'll
you.
beat you after this
I
show.
didn't listen
done.
to you, but you did
Anyway.
start off on the wrong foot. Go ahead,
Not
finish.
My opinion.
saying-
Wait a
by
minute.
saying
You
you're
didn't
not
tell me
get
that
back
my
your money.
opinion, the startup. Boy, sit down.
You'll not get back the
Listen,
money.
if the Belizean people, if anybody in the public or the Belizean people are expecting to get any sort of money back from this entire situation that happened, we're going to be real, we're going to be practical. That's not going to happen. This is not about getting money back. It's about plugging loopholes so that this does not occur or reoccur, sorry. And it's about strengthening the procurement and the whole system. And I'm saying that because a lot of people tend to speak out of ignorance, Troy, where they would think that, okay, an audit would then lead to perhaps us getting some money back. So I'm putting that out there because in a conversation that I had last week, that was one of the discussions that came up, the idea of getting the money back. And I'm thinking, but that's not even on the table. That's not even because of exactly what you're saying. They delivered a product. They did a service, and so they got paid for it. What we don't know, and what we perhaps will never know, in if we're being realistic, is whether we got value for money.
That's
Because on the document, it could say that I delivered 50 pounds of tomato. Right? It could say that on the paper when really and truly I only delivered 20. But how can you prove that now, so many years later, when we're talking about perishables, these are not necessarily capital equipment or that
actually,
where
yeah.
you could actually pinpoint an inventory. Or,
inventory.
you understand? This is not that. So that is what I'm clarifying for the people. You're not going to get money back. There are certain things that this audit can and cannot prove. And one of them is exactly what I'm saying, because you are dealing primarily with perishables. When it comes to the soldier boots now, that's an inventory that keeps, because then you could say, all right, Troy signed for one, John Doe signed for one, and this is how much left in the storeroom.
you can reconcile.
You can reconcile that. But you can't reconcile tomato and pork and beef
There
and
is
fish
another
and chicken
area
and
too,
all of that.
inflated costs or inflated
Right,
prices.
again.
And that's again a subjective thing to some extent. But the bottom line is to be able to at least to get an idea of whether or not we paid more for an item than we could have gotten it for maybe using another source.
And there are a lot of moving parts to Troy, because at that period when you had these contracts like 2021, remember this was post-COVID. And remember post-COVID you had a lot of, you had a sharp increase in prices because of
supply chain
animal
disruption.
feed. Hold on, animal feed had gone up like more than 100%. That was one of the things, if I remember correctly, the agriculture minister was lamenting about. And not only that, shipping costs as well had gone up significantly, and fertilizers.
In Ukraine causes problem with the fertilizers.
And the fertilizers as well. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. So you're never really going to know really and truly if you got value for money on these perishable items.
I will repeat,
So,
the optics is bad.
of course it is.
Doesn't look good. That's the bottom line. So if we start there and end there in the beginning, that's how the politics are worked. If you believe that you could sell that perception and that propaganda and build a story and a hysteria around that, that's to your strength. Because anytime you see the government, something happens within the government, it's a political party that is in government. And I think that is the message that I got from Cordell's Hyde. Not feel as though you're a minister and you're bigger than a party. Because somehow you need the party. A couple of we big enough, we kind of still win for your own merit. But that is not going to be the same with all of you all. And we need 16 of us. And if we don't tighten up the least small margin we want to have can be overcome because of the perception that you are corrupt.
But the thing of it is that that theory, that principle applies across the board. Because I have seen it here at Love FM, where people come and people establish one name for themselves. Oh, I had Renee Trujillo, so now I could go out there and I could make it by my own, not realizing that everything is a team effort. I did not become Renee Trujillo on my own. Yes, I have my intelligence, I have my own hard work that I put towards this, but my platform is Love FM. You understand? Likewise, yes, you bring your talent and your skills to electoral politics, to government, but your platform is the people. The people that will put you there. Love FM is what gave me the airwaves and the whatnot to put my name out there.
Independent candidates have not been able to be successful because they don't have the history, they don't have the mechanism, they don't have that armor around them, which is the party. It's a political party. I always have to remind people, Renee, on a consistent basis, it's a political party that got into power, you know. Don't think that politics and government and governance are devoid or separated. It is one and the same because it's the same people that ask you for their vote under a political banner that turns up to be a so-called professional, i.e. one minister.
So I want to close off my part on this
go.
Monday by saying to two persons in particular, Tracy Panton and Oscar Mira, you don't stand alone. The party is what makes you. The people is what will make you, Tracy, the next Prime Minister of this country, God willing, and Oscar Mira, it's the people that will decide whether they will forgive you for this transgression. And so you always have to understand that you have to embrace people around you. This is not, you don't function as an island. So Tracy needs to embrace Shine and needs to embrace the talent around her in order for her to have a successful rebuilding of the United Democratic Party. Oscar Mira needs to accept that this does not look good. Stop skirt around the issue. This is not about whether you condoned it or you did it or not. This is about you coming to your people now for forgiveness, because the optics is that you erred. You sinned politically. And so now you have to come and embrace and accept that and come back to your people, because the people that will have you with us today in office. And that's my 2 cents. And I won't be here next Monday, but the following Monday.
You won't? Oh, no. My. You're going for, oh, yes, you're going to be out the country and you hired us. But that's good. I wish you all the best out there and get some good coverage. And I trust that you will see a lot of long-last friends. Yeah. Yes.
William, leave me alone.
And William is reminding me, Renee, that you're not a tardy person in the morning, so you better. I remember you're a different time zone too.
I'm not an early riser.
Yes, and you'll be on a different time zone as well. So William is already reminding us. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's certainly been a great discussion this morning, and we trust that it was informative and interesting, as it was for me and Renee. We certainly want to thank you, our viewers, throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful jewel of ours. We're glad you could join us. I want to thank Karen Coote for doing a great job on Love FM, Rich, our producer for this morning, our overall producer, Manuela Ayuso, as well as our master control operator, William, who will be missing for a few days because he'll be frolicking in Miramar.
Happy birthday in advance to my reporter, Suseli Shaw. Her birthday is tomorrow.
Okay.
So happy belated birthday to you,
happy
Suseli.
birthday. I want to thank Andrew Jones for streaming. And certainly...
In advance.
Her birthday is tomorrow.
Did I say belated?
Anyway,
in advance.
I think you said it's tomorrow, though. The 7th day of July is tomorrow. Today is the 6th. I want to ask you to join me tonight, me and Darrell, on the business hour, where we discuss all things business, but not business as usual, as well as...
And not forget the prisoners, Central Prison, listen to your business hour through Jeremiah.
Yes. I ran into April. Yes, and she did mention it as well. So certainly, we look forward to talking with these guys as well and try our best to enlighten them as best as we can. Of course, we do know that you have choices. And whenever you choose love, we are always grateful. And we always say, Belize and beyond. Thanks for choosing love. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Belize, and good morning. I say good morning, Belize, and good morning. And how are you this morning?
Wake up every morning, like go to work and get it right.